Hello. Welcome back. My name's Claire. This is the Purlwise Knitting Podcast. I live in Montreal. This is my third episode. Thank you for being here. I've been trying to film this for a few days now, but have just been having a rough time. So it just hasn't happened. And now I'm filming and there's some sort of bad sound outside. And I hope that you can't hear it. I kind of tested and I think you can hear it a little bit. It's some sort of like constant construction whirring sound. But I got all ready to do this and then I realized that it was happening, and anyways, maybe you won't see this if I decide the sound is too horrible, but I live in a busy and loud neighborhood, so short of recording at night, I don't know. There's always going to be some noise. Anyways, where's Bee? Oh, there she is. Bee, wanna come on? Come here. Hi, sweetie. She's here with us, the star of the show. Oh, Beatrix. As I had mentioned in my last episode, I went on a trip. I went to Vancouver for a week, and Bee has been very clingy since I got back. I'm so sorry, Bee. I'm sorry you were all on your own. I mean, she had friends visiting her, but I guess she missed me as much as she would hate to admit it. Anyways, I just wanted to start off by saying thank you. It was really nice. I hit 1,000 subscribers last night, and I really wasn't ever expecting that. It's really funny, two of my good friends, Izzo and KP, have been checking my subscriber count almost more than me, and they texted me as soon as it hit 1,000, and yeah, it was really sweet of them to be so excited, and yeah, it's really nice that so many of you are here and have watched. Now of course I'm covered in cat hair. And I wanted to say thank you especially for all the nice comments. It's been really sweet, and especially because I'm not like feeling that great these days. Yeah, lots of really nice comments. I started out being able to answer everybody, and it quickly got very overwhelming. And even when I was in Vancouver, I was taking my sister's computer and like answering as many as I could while she was like doing homework and stuff. But I just can't get to them all, and I'm so sorry. I tried to answer all the ones that had questions, and maybe I'll get a moment to try again. But I'm really sorry. I do read every single one. I have read every single one, and I really appreciate it, and it's really nice to hear from people and to hear what you're working on and where you live, and yeah, it's just so nice and unexpected. So thank you. I guess I'll just start with what I'm wearing, because I made something that I hadn't even started in the last episode. I talked about it in my first episode, wanting to make it, but I made the Schemer Slipover. And here, I'll back up and show you. The light is better today. I waited until it was a bit later to film, so this is it. Schemer Slipover. Ooh, back. My ugly chair. There's a split hem. Sorry, I'll try and keep my mouth in the frame, but yeah, this is the Schemer, and I believe it's designed by Appella Knits, and I knit this out of Artfil They're Mericana DK base, Mericana DK base in the colorway Adrenaline. Like from back here you can't really see that there's like all these little tiny pops of like neon in it and some like blue. Yeah, it just sort of washes out into brown from a distance. But yeah, I really like the color. I'd had these, I used, it must have been 2 skeins and a bit to do this. I probably have like, it was probably 2.5. I should have weighed my leftovers, but probably took 2.5 skeins. I have some left over that I don't really know what to do with. I'm having one of those days where trying to do anything feels like swimming through mud. Mericana, Artfil, Mericana DK, hand dyed, superwash merino. I've never made a garment in superwash before. And yeah, it's really nice and light. That's kind of why I wanted to work on it. I'd said that I would work on other things first, but after I finished the sleeve of my Merit, which I'll show you in a bit, I think I have cat hair on my face, I just wanted something really different than that like fingering weight color work. And I looked back at this pattern and I realized it was meant for Aran weight yarn, which I was surprised at. And this is a DK, but it worked out really well. At first I was concerned that it was too like open of a fabric, but I actually really like it. I think it's perfect and it'll be good for spring. And I wanted something that I could like actually look forward to wearing for a bit. So far I've only really worn it over this like little turtleneck, but I could imagine just wearing it over a t-shirt too. What else is there to say? It was fun to knit with. I alternated skeins, which worked pretty well. On the back there's like some kind of darker areas, but that's just how it goes. So it's all stockinette with twisted rib at the sides. Twisted rib here. The only modifications I made was this called for like 15 rows of rib, I think. And that was gonna be way too many. I think I did like 11 or something. And even then I'm like, could be a bit less. And I did a sewn tubular bind off, which is my favorite. And I did it twisted, which I've never done before. So I modified that, but and I also modified the length. So I only knit the body for like I knit the body the same width as the same length as the front hem, and then I split for the armholes, sleeve holes, armholes. Yeah, really happy with it. It took me about 2 weeks to make, which is a nice quick project for me. And I found it was really good actually for my hands because a lot of it was knit back and forth. And it's so rare that I do that now. Like the only part that's in the round is this like 2 inches between the hem and the splitting for the armhole. So all of the rest is back and forth. And I think switching between knitting and purling was actually really good for my hands. I didn't get as much like, sometimes I get a bit of repetitive strain or like shoulder pain, and I think it even helped with the shoulder pain. Yeah, and there's some interesting short rows to like shape the shoulders. All in all, pretty fun and quick, and I like it. Yeah, really satisfying. I haven't also knit any garments in hand-dyed yarn before, and now I want to do more. I really thought that I wouldn't be that into it, but I could see a sweater being really fun. I don't know if I do like the superwash merino, but it's definitely not my favorite thing I've ever knit with. Was nice to knit with something so smooth for a change, but yeah, I have my eye on some hand dyers that do non-superwash wools, and I think that that's something that I would really like to look into, but a little bit expensive. Trying not to buy yarn. Yeah. So I actually have two other, well, 1.5 other finished things, and I forgot one of them. Okay, I'm back with my first. This is the first thing I finished. I'd shown it last podcast. It's sort of improvised, I guess. I talked about this. I used the Isolde Teague's Musselburgh pattern to like set up the cast on and her numbers to figure out how big to make it. So you cast on and you start increasing, and then you measure your gauge, and that's how you know when to stop increasing. But I'm discovering with this pattern, I've done it twice now and had the same issue twice, which is that my gauge here, when it's like really small and growing, is quite tight. And so by the time I'm like just going in the round, my gauge loosens up. So yeah, I had to, can't remember what stage it was at last time. I think I'd ripped it back the last time I showed it, because it was way too big. So I started again with less stitches, and now, weird way to put on a hat. It fits well, but I'm just worried I'm not, the last hat that I made myself was too large. Maybe I'll show you that one too. Okay. So this is the hat that I've been wearing the past 2 winters. Or like I made it last January 2021. And it's pretty cute. I kind of look like a gnome. I think it goes like this. It's like annoying because there's like a front. If you can see that, those decreases there. So this is made in Quince & Co, Chickadee, and Rowan. Rowan, Kidsilk, in black. Yeah, so this is the hat I've been wearing, and you can kind of see it's like the size of my head, basically. And I was like, I want to make something smaller. It is really funny. It was not like quite what I was expecting the shape to be when I made it, but it is really cute. I think if I were to do it again, see this like section with the decreases only happens at the front. So if you look at the back, I have hat hair. So this is the front. Oh, it's covered in stuff. This is the front, and the back is just plain. So this has been like, yeah, I've been like, oh, I should have made it smaller. I definitely didn't swatch for this when I made it. So I made this one smaller, so it has a bit of negative ease, but now I'm like, it crushes my hair. This is the issue with curly hair in the winter, is that your hat, it squishes it. So yeah, what I did was I started with, again, sorry this is rambling, but started with the Musselburgh pattern, and I copied kind of the idea of the Espace Tricot Mouton Noir pattern, which has a brim that's just folded up, and you see the reverse stockinette on the brim, which I really like. I made it, I was following the instructions for length for the mouton noir, and I wonder, but I went a bit longer because I have a big head, and I was like, it pulls more this way, so it'll pull this extra. Just wonder if I made it too long, but I'm looking at myself mirrored again. I don't know. So far it's been good for really cold days, which we might finally be at the end of. But yeah, I had a couple of moments of being like, maybe I don't love it, but I think it's good. And yeah, it is a bit warmer than my black hat because it's more close fitting. Yeah, and good for cold days. And this is fine. It's like with my beret that I showed in my first episode. I think I just like have to wear things to get used to them. Especially hats are so, I don't know. It's so like, I want to say intimate, but it's not that. It becomes a part of your head, and it's weird to have a new part of your head. Like I wore this like every day for 2 winters, so I'm just like coming to terms with having new hats. That's really silly. But anyways, this, as I talked about last time, hair. This is knit in 1 strand of Nutiden. As I'd mentioned, I don't know the colorway. It came with one of my orders from them as like a little sample. Oh, there's some hay. This is 1 strand of Nutiden and 1 strand of Biches Buches, le petit silk mohair, and just black. I don't know if it has a name. Okay, hair fixing interlude. Hair is hard. Yeah, so that was the first thing I finished. And I kind of powered through that like really quick after my last episode. So I did get to wear it a few times in the snow, but now it might not be as useful. Yeah, and I'm glad I got to show you my trusty Smurf hat. That's how I think of it. My Smurf hat kind of makes my head look like a Hershey's Kiss. Yeah, so that was my hat. And the next thing I have is I finished a sock. So I'd shown last time that I had started Albina McLaughlin's wave run socks, and it just wasn't quite working out for me. I knit this in Garthenor Snowdonia sock, and it comes in 50-gram skeins, and I had realized that I started the wave run socks and I wouldn't have enough to finish it how I wanted it. So I decided to stripe it more, do like a more all over stripe so that I could more equally use up the 2 balls that I have, which actually I have 2 more skeins, so I can do another pair of socks too. Yeah, isn't that cute? I really like this yarn. So I just started, and then once I got to the heel, it's just a regular vanilla sock type of situation, but for the heel instructions, I just followed the instructions from Emily Foden's Knits About Winter, her favorite sock recipe, just because I had the book sitting beside me, and yeah, I guess I could have just done it off the top of my head, but sometimes it's nice to just follow instructions. So I did a slip stitch heel, and like heel flap and gusset. You can't really see it because of the color. The 2 colorways actually are called, the marled color is called Idwal, and the white cream is called Lily. What was I saying? Maybe this is just how it always is. I'm always going to be a little bit all over the place. Wedge toe, slip stitch heel. I'm really happy with it. I made it a little longer than I've made socks previously. I have these like tall boots that are like elasticated, and if they touch my calf they rub, and so I was like, oh, I should make the socks taller. And also it's just cozier. And I made the foot also a bit long because I'd heard in a couple of places, maybe from Emma of Woolly Mammoth is someone I remember talking about this, but because it is a no nylon, non-superwash wool, it's going to felt for sure. So I made it half an inch longer so that it has room to felt up in the foot, and really like shrink to fit my foot instead of getting too small when it felts. It's just really nice, and I just really like this yarn. Oh, someone's zooming around over there. SB? She has stuff to say. It's just like really soft, but like kind of rustic at the same time, with a really nice halo to it, and it just feels really nice on my foot. So I immediately started the second one because I was just like the first one so much, and I haven't blocked this. I mean I washed it, but I just laid it flat to dry. I find I don't really, I have blocked socks in the past, but I just found it stretched. I've blocked superwash socks on them, and I feel like it stretches it out, and makes it kind of loose. I don't know. So there, because I made it a bit long, it doesn't quite like fit this one. Anyways, and it's too long. I kind of just like the sock blockers as objects on the wall more than like a useful thing, but there you go. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the opposite. So they'll be sort of mismatched socks. So the heel, toe, and cuff of this one will be in the lily color. I feel like I saw a picture on Instagram once, like ages ago, of someone who had made socks opposite like this. I'm sorry, B is zooming around the house. B? B. Oh. What? What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, what's wrong? Okay, we're not staying. Goodbye. Okay, sorry if you can hear her freaking out. Yeah, I think wow, I'm so organized. I think I had seen a picture on Instagram of someone who had done socks in this way. And I've just had it in my brain for a while. I really, when I set out to knit these, was like, oh, I just want to knit plain socks and not think. And then of course I had to do the striping, but I really like striping, it's fun. So I think when I'm done, I'll have a little bit left of each one, probably just a little bit. I think if I had made it overall shorter, I would have had enough. Like I've 50 grams of each color, and I had split it into 25-gram balls. And my 25-gram ball of the Idwal, the marled color, got me to about like just the beginning of the toe. So maybe if I'd done less, or if I'd done the cuff striped, I could have done both of them with the same heels, toes, and cuffs, but I was being a perfectionist and thinking about ripping the cuff back, and anyways, I was like, no, don't do that to yourself. And I think this will be really cute. Also, the more I like work with this cream color, the more it's like grown on me. At first I was like, why did I buy white? It's like socks are gonna get dirty, but it's just, it's so pretty. I don't know, just such a nice cream. Anyways, and last time I'd shown you this yarn, I was working on my 4-inch Haya DPNs, little tiny DPNs, and I switched to Magic Loop because this yarn is so smooth and those tiny little DPNs just kept slipping out. Every time I took it out to work on it, the stitches were off the needles, and I was like getting annoyed. So, and I also took this with me on my trip, so I just really didn't want to lose any stitches or lose any needles. So I'm knitting them on 1.75 millimeter. It's a 72 stitch sock. This is a Chowgu like fixed circular, and that's kind of been my favorite. I realized last night, I think I'm knitting a bit more loosely on this one, so I'm going to try and tighten up a bit. I always have one sock that's a different size than the other, and I'm always going like this to make sure they stretch the same. They do. They look about the same. But I think this one, you probably can't tell, and I'm probably being a perfectionist, but I think this one, like, look, why is it so much bigger? Anyways, it's the same, it's definitely the same amount of stitches, but I will just tighten up maybe, and that'll be fine. I know that it's better to control your gauge with your needle, but sometimes I'm just like too relaxed when I start. Like it is, I need to keep a bit of tension, and sometimes I just don't do that. So anyways, that's these, a finished thing and little tiny WIP. Yeah, I just started this yesterday. I finished this really quickly, actually. I feel like with socks, like this takes the longest because it's just like not very inspiring to be like, it's so tiny, it's never going to become a sock. And then once you get down to the heel, you're like, wow, I'm really going. And then, so I finished this since being back, so under a week, which is pretty fast for me. For socks, I'm not, especially because I do 72 stitches, which gives me like an inch of negative ease. So I have a 9-inch foot, and this comes out to 8 inches. Yeah, how much can you say about socks? So much, apparently. Yeah, I probably did like from here down in like a week because I have been knitting a lot because I don't feel very good. Yeah. So this one will probably come together quickly, hopefully, because I'd like to wear them. Yeah, I'm really excited to wear them, and it'll probably be cool enough to wear wool socks for a while yet. Yeah, and I kind of wear wool socks year round, mostly. I often have cold feet at home. I mean, not in like the height of summer, obviously. But through the spring, I would definitely still wear wool socks. Okay, next thing I will show you is, okay, so I finished the sleeve of my Merit cardigan, which I've shown in both of my previous episodes. Well, it's not completely finished, so I finished the pattern repeats. So what happens after this is you knit a little bit in the main color to make a facing for when you attach it to the body of the sweater. But I stopped because I want to do the body first and make sure that the sleeve is long enough, because it's looking pretty short, but maybe that's fine. I'm not sure if that's going to be long enough. So yeah, I just have to do the body. To be certain, I hope that, because it looks really nice, I hope it's gonna fit. I have concerns, but again, this is the Merit cardigan by Kristen Drisdale. It is all over colorwork, knit in the round, steeked. I've never done a steeked cardigan before. I've never done something with so much colorwork before, and I am knitting it out of Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, and I'll put the shades below. And I altered the chart. It's supposed to be a 3-color chart, so a main color and 2 contrasts, and I have added, how many contrasts do I have? I have 4 contrasts. So I added this line of orange, corally orange, through these 2 motifs, and I added a different like light pink for these X's. Yeah, and I'm really happy with it. But after I finish this sleeve, well, I can't remember where it was last time, like here or something, last time I recorded, and I just really powered through it because I was like, I'm on a roll, I'm gonna get this cardigan done, and then I was like, oh, I need a break, because it was just tiny, and yeah, but I still really like it, and now that I've got it back out, I definitely will. Well, I've gone as far as to cast on, sorry, now this sock blocker's noisy. I'd cast on the second sleeve, and I was working on the sleeves because I thought I was gonna bring it to Vancouver with me, but then I had started this like on a whim, and I really wanted to finish it, so I brought this with me actually and knitted most of this in Vancouver. And the other thing that made me want to get these ends out of the way, that made me want to set this aside for a minute, was that I knitted the cuff, which, as I mentioned last time, because I'm a loose knitter, I'm knitting the rib on 1.2 millimeter needles and the body on 2.25. So I had knit the cuff, but it was way too tight, like it was way tighter than this one. And now I've done it again, and it is still a little bit tighter than the first one I knit. I must have been very relaxed that day, but it's a bit better. I just knew it was gonna bug me, so I started over. So I got as far as to switching to the 2.25s on this one before I left for my trip, and then I was like, I don't want to deal with all these little balls of wool, and yeah, so I took the schemer with me instead, and the sock, but I didn't work on the sock. Yeah, so that's my Merit cardigan progress. But yeah, now I'm excited to get back to this tiny little sleeve. I am a bit intimidated about casting on the body, because it is like 400 and something stitches, and then 12 rows of 1 by 1 rib. Ooh, it's gonna be a bit painful, and I'm not sure. It's really hard to find needles that small, like the 1.2 millimeter needles. So I bought, I think it's like a 37 inch fixed circular, I think it's a Haya, that's 1.2 millimeter, and I think it'll be long enough because it'll squish up on there, but that's my other concern, is that the needle won't be long enough, but we'll see. Yeah, really hard to find tiny needles. If anybody knows of a place in Canada that reliably sells really tiny needles, be good to know, because I'm also looking for sorry, needle sounds. I'm also looking for, I'd like to get a 9-inch circular, a 1.75 millimeter 9-inch circular, but one of the ones that has like a slightly, you know, when the two ends are different lengths. I'd like one with like one side slightly longer, and I think is it the Addy? I think Addy has some, but I don't know if I'm ever gonna find 1.75 millimeter. Anyways, part of me wonders if I should start knitting with wooden needles, but I really like metal needles because I've heard that wood is a bit stickier, and so you tighten up a bit, just because I do knit so loosely. I mentioned before I usually have to go down 0.75 to a millimeter. This was interesting to get gauge. Tangent. Because it was written, I guess it was different because it was written for an Aran weight. I think it called for 4.5 with Aran weight, and I knit on 3.75 with DK weight. Actually, that's exactly what I was saying. I went down 0.75 millimeters. Anyways, yeah. What else? And I just had one last thing. I like have resurrected an old WIP. I mean, it's not that old. I started it in September. Sorry, the way I'm sitting at my desk, I'm like at the corner so that the background is the nicest. But there's no like room in front of me because the desk is like the... Anyways, yeah, so it's in this, I made this, it's just one of those like bento style bags. It is kind of a funny, it looks like a sheep or something when it's tied, like it's got ears, but it's just really useful, good for like throwing into another bag. This is one of my favorite fabrics. It's Robert Kaufman Essex yarn dyed, and it's like a cotton and linen blend, and I have like so many different clothes made out of this exact color. But what I am working on is tangles. It's a half and half triangles wrap, which I'm sure, losing my stitches, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, because it's so many other podcasters have knit it. Half and half triangles wrap, free pattern from Pearl Soho, and I'm knitting it out of the recommended yarn, which is Pearl Soho's Linen Quill. And this was definitely a treat that I bought myself must have bought it in August or something, because my thinking was that I cast this on the first day of school. It's like my first day of school cast on, and I wanted to finish it to wear it in the winter, but then I kind of lost steam on it, partly because I was knitting it a lot during Zoom classes, and then yeah, we just had a lot of in-person classes. And actually I mostly knit this while I was reading, so doing reading for school, so I have it on my screen and I'm like set up so I can look at the reading, and I don't really have to look at my hands that much. But then once I got towards the end, so as you might know, it's made with short rows, so eventually, like at the end of the triangle, okay, let me explain better. You cast on, this is my cast on here. So when I cast on, I have this many stitches, and then you go back and forth, but one stitch less every row. Oh, it's so hard to show. So 1 stitch less every row. So once the rows got short, like down here, it was harder to read and do it at the same time because I had to turn more. And then I started the next triangle, and it was the same issue where the rows were short, so I harder to do something else at the same time, or to read at the same time. I can definitely watch TV and do it at the same time, but yeah. Oh, I should have got the names of the colors. I think it's like, I want to say super orange, but I don't know if that's true. I feel like the color I'm seeing on the screen is not quite accurate to what it is. It's very like that, like hunter orange color, and then this I believe is called Stillwater blue. So it's this really dark, it looks black right now, but it's got a lot more, it's like blue gray. I don't know, but yeah, it's like cool blue gray. And what did I do? I cast on for the smaller size because I knew I wanted it to be, the pattern has 2 sizes, and one of them is really huge and takes like, I think 6, it calls for 6 skeins of this, and I bought 4. I bought 2 of each color. This is my first ball of the Stillwater blue. And yeah, I bought 4 because I was like, 1, this is gonna be really expensive, especially with like duty coming from the States, and I did get a duty charge of like $30, so I bought the yarn already, and then I had to spend $30 when it got to my house, something like that. Maybe I'm off, but so I decided to do the small, but I was checking people's yardages and it seemed like they had a lot left over, so I cast on the small. I took the, I mean, this pattern is great because you can do any size you want, basically. So I looked at the stitch count for the small, which I don't remember what it was, and I believe I added 30 stitches, which I should have written down somewhere, but I didn't. I was just checking my notes, and I didn't write down that number, so I'm not going to count how many there are. But I believe that put me like between size 1 and size 2, and I'm knitting it on 2.75 millimeter needles. It's a fingering weight yarn, and yeah, I think the size is going to be good for me. I also, the large, I was like, that's going to be too big, like I'm just going to feel like I'm drowning in it, and luckily I put it on this really long cable. This is like a 50, how many inch? 50 inch cable. My Chowgu interchangeables on, and I at some point bought a 50-inch cable thinking that that would be useful for knitting sweaters because of my bust circumference is 48, but it's too big. Like I usually use a 37-inch for my for like the body of a sweater. I guess it's good maybe when you're at the yoke, but no, it's too big. Who needs I guess it's mostly just good for giant shawls, but even knitting this, I would generally want it to be on something shorter so that I could like scrunch it up, but all my shorter cables were in use. I think I had it on a 24-inch cable, so like half of this originally. Sorry, I'm so rambly, but I don't remember what I was gonna say. It's just a good size, I think, and it being on the long cable means I can put it on. So once it's done, it'll sit something like this, but there'll be more fabric to it, so I can wear it as a scarf, which is probably what will happen. So yeah, it'll be twice as thick, but this length, and I think probably with blocking it'll grow too. Though I was like, how am I gonna block this? It's such a big square I don't really have like large areas of unused floor in my house yet. Anyways, a problem for future Claire. And then I thought also like when I'm working or whatever with the computer. Yeah, I think it's a good size for me. I think the really big one would just be too big. And yeah, this yarn is really nice to work with. And actually, when I finish the orange, I haven't weighed it, but I probably have at least 50 grams left of the orange, so I could have made it maybe less than that, but I have a pretty significant amount left of the orange, so I feel like I could have made it even bigger. I might also be knitting it at a tighter gauge than is recommended, but I like the gauge. Maybe you can see better in the, like it's not, I feel like I've seen some that people are knitting and they're very open, but mine's not that open. Yeah, and I had some reading to do this week, so I took it back out, and I had like forgotten how nice it was to, it really helps me concentrate on, especially like reading. Yesterday I was reading theory in French, and that's just hard to concentrate on, reading theory in your second language, and it was like so interesting but still difficult. Yeah, anyways, yeah, that is my 1/2 triangles wrap. I hope I didn't forget to say anything. I feel like I've said so much. Oh, coming up on an hour. Yeah, it was hard for me to get my brain in. I'm feeling very disorganized because I'm like not doing great. Makes it very hard for me to like get my thoughts in line, so I hope that wasn't too hard to listen to. People have been saying that my voice is very calming and soothing, so hopefully there's at least that, even if I'm kind of all over the place. I know I've never done like an acquisition section, and I don't really plan to, but I did want to show you my one acquisition, which I forgot to take out of the drawer. All my wool is in. This is my wool from my Merit. Everything's in Ziploc bags because of the moths. They lived outside for a couple weeks in like it's like minus 20-degree weather, so, and now this is my system. This is a cute little dresser my friend made. Can't really see it because I'm in the way, but here I have more linen quill. That's something else, but yeah, probably next cast on is gonna be the Daily Pullover, which I talked about in my first episode, by Paula Pereira, in this linen quill, which is kettle black, and I think that'll be really nice to do. It is like, I don't know, I feel like that yarn gets like hyped up a lot, and it's kind of, I understand. It is really nice to knit with, but it's, if you don't live in the States especially, it's really expensive. Both of the times I bought it were like, I was like, I need a treat. Well, as I've talked about before, my mom is knitting the, sorry, whenever I'm looking at yarn now, I'm like, is that a bug? It's not, it's fine. It's hard because the linen honestly looks like moth casings. But I know because there was one moth in my leftover orange from the 1/2 triangles wrap, and its casing was orange, so it wouldn't be white like this. Anyways, sorry, this is, I mean, part of why I don't have an acquisition section is that I'm trying not to buy yarn, because when I found the moths, I was like, it's crazy. It's just crazy to have enough that like there's pests like in there, and I didn't know about it because I have just too much stuff. And yeah, so I don't like, I'm not trying not to buy. It's hard because I love planning and buying things. Now I found another thing I acquired. So here was going to be my first little funny acquisition. Ta-da! A one ball of Jamieson and Smith, which I bought in Vancouver, and it's the sorry, sound of needles. This is the gray for the Merit, which I realized I hadn't bought enough of when I was looking at the amounts the other day. So on the advice of several people who watched, I think, my last episode, a bunch of people mentioned that 3 Bags Full, a yarn store in Vancouver, has Jamieson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight, I believe is what it is. Yeah, 2-ply jumper weight. And that was so nice, and I went, and this is all I bought. They didn't have, I need, I think, 2 balls of the main color, which is like FC64 mix. And everywhere I found that carries Jamieson and Smith, there's a place in Montreal too, which someone also suggested. Is it Crochet & Co. in Verdun? They don't have my shade, so I got this online from the Knitting Loft, which is a store in Toronto. So I'm just waiting until I have like some other plans in mind with yarn that I can get at the Knitting Loft, and then I can get it all together. But so thank you for everyone who suggested I go to 3 Bags Full. I had checked online, so I knew they didn't have the FC64 mix. But I was like, I want to go anyways. We spent a day, a morning, we went and got coffee on Main Street, me and my sister who I was visiting, and we popped into 3 Bags Full, and it was a really fun day. So yeah, my acquisition, everything I bought in Vancouver was tiny. I bought like a tiny rock, and like I bought a sun catcher, one of those things that makes rainbows in your window, and I bought a bunch of other like tiny little things. I bought like tiny grid paper at Muji, and this tiny ball of wool, and it all fit. I had this little cosmetic bag like this big, and every like souvenir I had fit in this tiny little bag. So and another thing I got that I forgot to talk about, maybe I got this since the last episode, because I've been wanting to start spinning, and actually my sweet friend KP, who I had mentioned before, made me this drop spindle, and I'd really like to try hand spinning. And so I had subscribed to Long Way Homestead is I guess they're a farm, and now I can't remember where they are, somewhere in Manitoba maybe. Anyways, Long Way Homestead. I subscribed to their breed of the month like fiber club, and then I've since unsubscribed just because I got one, what was it, the month before it was some white Corriedale, and this month it was some black Icelandic wool. And I've unsubscribed because I'm planning to move, and I'm like trying to save money. It's not very expensive club. I think it was like $25 a month, and I haven't unwrapped this yet just because of the moths, and I really don't want anything to get into it. But it comes like vacuum sealed. When I got the first one, I was like, what? I thought I ordered fiber. But yeah, it's really funny. So I'm just keeping it vacuum sealed, so it's not very fun to show you, but and they send you this like card with information. And I would really like to resubscribe again someday, but yeah, I just haven't. I've tried it a couple times to spin, but I think I would like to learn from somebody in person, because I wasn't having a ton of luck. But I haven't tried the Corridale yet. I was trying to spin with my drop spindle, with some, I think, merino that I had, and I know that that has a very short staple length, so it's probably not the best, especially for a beginner. So yeah, so I've unsubscribed for now, and we'll see in the future, but it's a really nice thing. And how many grams is this? I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, that's another thing. It's in the drawer, in a bag, watching it for moths. Yeah, I think that might be all I have to talk about. I've managed to talk for an hour. I think there's some stuff in there I'm gonna cut out. It's funny when I'm doing these, sometimes I I just hit a wall and like forget what I'm saying, and I just kind of have like a full like verbal meltdown, and I just like sit here in front of the camera for a minute, like feeling overwhelmed. So there's a couple moments of that I'll cut out, but otherwise I think this was okay. That noise is still going. What is it? And now there's a beeping. I don't know. I live in, if you know Montreal, I live in Little Italy. It's like a pretty busy neighborhood. Yeah, but I am trying to move, and this is part of the hard brain time that I'm having, is that's a really overwhelming thing, and Montreal's kind of in a housing crisis, and every time I think I've got it figured out, it doesn't work out. So it's okay, something will work out, and probably I'll have a lot of knitting to show you because I'm stressed. Yeah, I guess I'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here and commenting and subscribing, and it's just been really, really surprising and nice. And I hope that I can keep doing this, because I think I do really enjoy it, and I really like showing people what I'm working on, especially right now when I feel like I'm not really going that many places or doing that many things. And I'm like, why do I have all these nice like new clothes if I just sit alone in my apartment? Which generally, I do have a roommate. I'm not usually alone, but my roommate is away for several months, which is also part of why I started doing this, because I finally was alone and felt like, yeah, I just, with my roommate here, I'd be way too shy. So eventually she will come back, but I'm trying to find a place to live by myself, and then I'll feel free to record whenever I want. So yeah, rambling now. Seems like it's time to end. But yeah, thank you again. Thank you so much for everything. And I hope you're having an okay time. It's hard out there, but nothing's forever, and things will be okay. This is me reminding myself. All right. Oh, B, do you want to say bye? Come here. Come here. Oh, you smell like cat food. You were just having a snack. Look, B. What do you think? Is everything gonna be okay? Yeah, it is. All right. On that note, sorry. I hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh no, man.